Hello everybody and welcome back to Keeping Your Business on Track. I'm here with a special guest today, Shannon Edwards, one of our top loan officers at Morgan Financial. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited that you asked.
Awesome. What do you think we're talking about today?
I heard that we might be talking about moving up your closing date.
Okay. Now, Shannon, as a seasoned loan officer, about how often do you think we move up our closing dates?
Gosh, I would say that maybe 10% of the time, 20% of the time, people are asking me if they can go ahead and close earlier than they planned.
I have an astounding fact for you.
Okay.
We actually move up 31.42% of our closings. That's a year-to-date number.
Wow.
So while a lot of companies push their closings out, we're actually moving up the closing date.
Yes.
But a lot of things have to happen in order for closing date to be moved up.
Right.
I think there's a misconception out there that it's just a matter of changing a date and then we just close early, right?
It's just an addendum. Sign an addendum.
Just an addendum. So you've been involved in these move ups. Yeah. So who's involved, first of all? Who's involved? What parties have to be on the same page in order to move up early?
So many people. Well, I imagine you probably have like movers lined up. Maybe you have workers lined up that are going to do repairs before the movers come in. There's a lot of moving parts. But in addition to all of that stuff on the borrower side or the buyer side, there's also the lender. The title company's got to have time on their calendar. The seller's got to be able to manage that date. Both agents. Who am I missing?
Probably insurance.
Yeah.
Maybe a surveyor has to go out earlier. Mm-hmm. Obviously the lender, it's not just, there's a lot of people to learn. The loan officer, the underwriter, the closer, sometimes the processor to collect extra documents, the title company, like you said, there's a lot of moving parts. And so a lot of things have to come together and everyone has to work together to get it done.
That's right.
So when is a contract addendum needed? You say that your client says, I want to close early. When is a contract addendum needed for that closing early?
To close earlier than what the contract says. We typically don't ask for an addendum to be done if it's getting done earlier, but some lenders will ask for you to do an addendum if it doesn't say on or before.
Right.
And it just says on such and such a date. Sometimes lenders will make you do an addendum for that.
Now, the realtors, even though it says on, and we might not need something, they might want to do an addendum. That's up to them.
Right.
But if it says on or before, typically it's covered. But they want to make sure all parties are on the same page, I imagine. So what happens to, this is a big one, homeowners insurance is a big deal right now. But what happens to homeowners insurance? They want to close earlier. What happens?
Well, the effective date has to be changed.
Okay, yeah, because if the effective date's the 30th, you want to close on the 15th.
Then you wouldn't have insurance.
You wouldn't have insurance, right?
Yeah.
So they'd have to get that updated.
They'd have to have that moved up earlier. And from what I've heard, some of the agents that I've worked with have told me that it's not as easy as just changing a date in their system and sending us a new paper. They actually have to cancel that policy and start over, put a whole new application and write a whole new policy. So do they have time to do that? Were we given enough notice for them to have time to update those things? Or will the premium still be the same if they're rewriting the
did the premium change? Did it go up?
Right.
Did that affect their debt to income? It gets real complicated, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What about, what is rebalancing for closing? What does that mean?
That's another moving part. I would say like the title company and the closer at the lender are going back and forth and trying to make sure that their numbers match. And some of those numbers are going to change based on the closing date.
Sure.
There's a few of the closing fees that will be based on the date, prorations between the seller and the buyer for like taxes that aren't paid yet or stuff like that will change based on the day. So
definitely.
that all has to be recalculated.
Yeah, did you say days of prepaid interest? Parts of your escrows, like you said. So a lot of things are going to change, and the title company and the lender got to balance that final statement. What about the final closing documents? How are they affected? Do we need to change those?
Well, they're all dated, every single one of them, and there's a lot of them.
So we need to update that.
So that all has to go on the shred, and a whole new package has to be created. So there has to be time for, like, does the closer have time on their calendar to move that up? There's other closings and things going on. But
my closing is the most important.
That's right.
Yes, every closing is important. What about final checks in underwriting and in operations and processing? What about those? How are those affected?
They have to be dated within a certain amount of time from the closing. There's like guidelines they have to follow with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So like a verification of employment, for instance, has to be dated within so many days of the closing date.
So they might have to get one done sooner.
Right. So they'll have to get that done sooner. And were they planning on that? And did they have that on their calendar? You know, do they have room on their calendar to move those things up? Maybe a credit check. They also have to recheck. Yeah, it's not another hard inquiry, but they have to just get a quick update to make sure that nothing's changed. So those all things have to be moved up and done a little bit sooner.
Maybe estoppel letters, disclosures, right? We have to make sure the disclosure package
That's huge. That's the biggest one. How did we forget?
Yeah. Well, we did. We made it. We found it.
It's got to be signed, 3 days prior to closing?
Yeah, the closing disclosure has to be disclosed and signed by the borrower 3 days prior to closing. So
by law.
By law, it's not us, and they can't waive that.
That's right.
There's no way to say, I don't want that.
I've actually had that happen before. Someone had an addendum signed without consulting their loan officer first. A realtor went and had them sign an addendum saying, hey, we're going to move up, put the closing on this day, and sent it to me. And we only had 2 days left before closing. So legally, I can't do that.
Right.
I have to get that CD signed or that closing disclosure signed 3 days prior to closing by law. So there was nothing I could do in that case.
Yeah, make no mistake. We love moving up closings.
That's right.
If we can get it done, we're going to get it done faster. That's why, on average, I said we had 31.42% of loans moved up year to date. Now, we do this. This is the coolest part, is that we have a thing where we like to do loans fast.
That's right.
The faster you can do them, the faster those people can get to worrying about other things other than their closing. So we write year to date, we average 7.78 days from signed loan app to approval.
That's awesome. I mean, we go around spouting that it's 10 days.
Right. It's actually 7.78.
7.78 right now.
That includes VA and conforming conventional loans.
Last I checked, we were in the 8 average.
Right.
So that's really cool to hear that we're even getting quicker.
But that allows us to move up closing dates. And 91.99%, the vast majority of our loans are cleared to close, approved within 10 days.
That's
year to
amazing.
Date. So that allows us and to move the closings up.
Yes.
So I have a couple takeaways for everybody. And you help me with these, but it's not as easy as just scheduling a date on closing, is it?
No, there's a lot of moving parts. So I think the idea here is talk with the agent talk with the lender, and all the other parties. I mean, that's really the agent's kind of the go-between all the different parties involved, just to make sure that everybody's on board before they send out that addendum to start getting signed.
Right. And what we like to tell people is once we're clear to close or fully approved, let's talk about moving it up.
Right.
If everyone's on board, everyone has to be on board. That's the main
right.
thing.
And let's not move it up before you're clear to close, because we don't know yet what intricacies are going to happen to get that clear to close. So once we're clear to close, give me 4 or 5 days notice so we can make sure that CD is signed in time.
Right.
And we can move it up.
Communication is key. All people must be on board. Right? Everyone's got to be on board. If there's one person that the insurance person says, I can't do it, well, we don't have insurance, we don't have a closing. If the seller doesn't want to do it, well, geez, we don't have half of the transactions not willing to do that. So everyone's got to be on board.
Exactly.
And one major thing, what's a major thing that will help if you're an agent who likes to close your transactions fast, what's the best advice you can give to them?
Get them pre-approved ahead of time, because once we've already gotten all their documents, those are the people that we're able to get clear to close in 7 days.
Right.
Because we've already done so much work on it. And so that one, we're going to be able to move up their closing much easier, because we're going to be clear to close so early. So we'll have a lot of time to be able to give notice to everybody, make sure the closers and the title companies and everybody has time to work through these changes.
Yeah. I mean, what can be done should be done now. Right?
Exactly.
And so if we can get them pre-approved, and we actually underwrite our pre-approvals, it's been underwritten by the underwriter who's going to make the final decision on the loan. So that's what makes it go so much faster. So you heard it here first. Get your clients pre-approved. We can help you move up your closing dates, because a lot of people do want to move in earlier. They'd rather move in on a Friday versus the Wednesday they had scheduled or something like that. And we'd love to help them make it happen.
Right, exactly.
So any final words or thoughts on this one?
I don't really have much other than just get your clients pre-approved. And then I think, we try to ask for 30 days if they're not somebody who's pre-approved. but we typically still get them clear to close in 10 days or less when
you just
that
opened
happens.
Pandora's box on that one.
Yeah, and then if they're clear to close in 10 days or less, then we can talk about moving up the date.
Yeah, if they can get documents fast to us, I mean, really, we can close as fast as legally allowed if the borrower and everyone's on board and we have everything.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of getting everyone else on board. Exactly. Is the title company on board? Is the seller on board? Are the agents on board? Is the buyer? Is the insurance company? So you got a lot of moving parts. But all in all, if you're looking for a quick close, if you want to move up closing dates, work with a great lender who does these things, right? I'm not saying it has to be us, but that'd be nice, right?
Me, I'll take it. I'll do it.
Well, that's it for today. I hope you learned something. I hope you got some good information out of this. If you did, like it, share, comment, subscribe, all these things. And we want to see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks.